The whistleblower at the heart of the Trump impeachment mess now has a complaint filed against him. Hillary Clinton teases once again that people are encouraging her to run for president, and Northwestern University newspaper issues an apology for covering the news and hurting people's feelings. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a great week. We're going to talk about this impeachment mess, but before we jump into that, let's talk about something truly ridiculous, and that's Hillary Clinton. Because once again, she's talking about people encouraging her, pressing her to run for president. And just a few weeks ago on CBS, we covered that interview where she was doing it again. Here's that clip.
So maybe there does need to be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I can beat him again.
That was actually a funny interview because in that, she took the time to blast President Trump for using his positions for power and corruption and to advance his personal agenda. Basically, all the stuff that she did while Senator and Secretary of State and First Lady, but that's a different story. So now she was giving an interview with the BBC, with BBC Radio, and here's a report from the Daily Caller that shows that once again, she just can't get over herself and can't get past the election. Hillary Clinton refused to rule out a 2020 presidential run Monday and said she is under enormous pressure to do so. As I say, never, never, never say never, Clinton said in an interview with BBC Radio 5 when she was asked about a future presidential bid. Never say never, that's all she does. Over and over again, she says, I'm never going to say never. And she won't leave the public eye. She's still bitter about 2016. That's what half of this media and left-wing mess is all about. They're still stunned that they can't believe President Trump won in 2016. And now she's still out there. She's still teasing. She still wants that media attention. And people like CBS and the BBC are happy to give it to her. Here's more. Clinton's remarks will no doubt fuel speculation that the failed 2016 presidential candidate will jump into a crowded Democratic field in hopes of challenging President Donald Trump. I will certainly tell you, I'm under enormous pressure from many, many, many people to think about it, said the former Secretary of State. But as of this moment, sitting here in this studio talking to you, this is absolutely not in my plans. All right, so enormous pressure. From whom? Who are these backers? Who is pushing Hillary Clinton to run for president again? I mean, who are those people? Because they need to get their IQ checked if they think she's going to run, because that's all the Democrats need to do is put their faith in her and have her lose again. That would just be absolutely classic. So now I want to talk about the whistleblower, because that's what the big story is, dominating the headlines is the whole impeachment hearing. And I've got to give you an update because things change all the time. And yesterday, news broke that the whistleblower, the guy who is behind this whole impeachment mess, remember, President Trump made a call to the Ukrainian president, and this guy, with no firsthand knowledge of this call, secondhand information, said the call was somehow bad, even though President Trump and the Ukraine president said nothing was going on, even though funds that were supposedly withheld weren't actually withheld. That complaint started this whole impeachment mess. Well, guess what? Now the whistleblower has a complaint filed against him because apparently through this whole impeachment, while staying anonymous, he's actually raising money on the side. And so here's a report from the Washington Examiner. The whistleblower who spurred impeachment proceedings against President Trump is now the subject of a complaint that says the official may be soliciting illegal donations. The complaint, which was filed last week by an intelligence officer, was sent to the Intelligence Community Inspector General and focuses on a GoFundMe page for the whistleblower that has raised more than $227,000. All right, so maybe you guys can jump in the comments and tell me the whole idea behind this thing. Why would someone who is anonymous, who is being protected, need a GoFundMe page? I mean, the attorneys, this is impeachment. They're probably jumping at the chance to represent this guy for free. And now he's got over $250,000 in donations to an anonymous person. It doesn't make any sense. And so, I mean, what is going on? I get stunned sometimes with the audacity of the left because these people hate President Trump. They'll stop at nothing and they have no shame. And here's more from the Washington Examiner. According to a letter sent by the law firm of Tully Rinke PLLC, their client alleges donations from roughly 6,000 individuals clearly constitute gifts to a current intelligence official, which are restricted by statute. Because many of the donors are anonymous, the complaint asks Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Michael Atkinson, to investigate whether any foreign citizen or agent of a foreign government gave money. The complaint also said the whistleblower's lawyers may be abusing their clients' access to classified information. The GoFundMe page was set up on September 25th by Whistleblower Aid, a nonprofit group that includes the whistleblower's legal team, Andrew Backlash, and another lawyer from Compass Rose Legal Group who is representing the whistleblower, promoted the link to the page on Twitter. Please support the intelligence community whistleblower. Raise funds via W-Bade Law. This is a tax-deductible contribution. My sincerest thank you for your support, he said. So how incredibly lame. I mean, this is just bizarre that they are raising money off of impeachment. That this person, who again is anonymous, is being protected, and as this complaint alleges, is still an employee, still an intelligence official, they're raising money for this guy. It's absolutely nuts. And to go from, next I want to go from there to even more lame, because this next story takes millennial snowflakeness to a whole new level. And it deals with Northwestern University and their student-run newspaper. Now, Northwestern University is supposed to be one of the top journalist schools in the entire country, all right? And they issued a 9-paragraph apology the other day for covering the news. For covering the news, they felt bad because people, they say, could have been re-traumatized from the coverage. And here's some background on the story. So what happened was, former Attorney General Jeff Sessions made a speech at the university. So, anytime a Republican or a, Trump administration official speaks out, they're going to protest on campus. All the left-wingers are going to come out. That's what happened, all right? You have a speech by former Attorney General Jeff Sessions. You have protesters. So the student newspaper decided to cover it, all right? And here is a report from the Washington Times on what happened next. The Daily Northwestern editorial team issued a statement Sunday apologizing for re-traumatizing students by posting pictures of the November 5th event where Mr. Sessions gave a speech titled "The Real Meaning of the Trump Agenda." His speech was repeatedly disrupted by students chanting, "F Jeff Sessions," and "You are a racist, you put kids in cages." And the former Trump official was eventually forced to leave the stage under police protection. The Daily Northwestern, which covered the event, as well as the protest, apologized for exercising basic journalistic practices like taking photos and reaching out for potential interviews, and said all photos taken at the event have since been deleted. All right. So can you believe that? They cover an event. All right. This is happening on campus. They cover the speech, they cover the protest, and then they apologize for it because they took pictures and contacted people for interviews. That's what journalists do. And when you read the apology, the apology issued by the paper, it's absolutely out there. It's just the epitome of this left-wing snowflake mentality where you can't upset anybody to the point where they're not even doing their job. Here's some clips, here's some excerpts from their apology that was posted a few days ago. Some protesters found photos posted to the reporter's Twitter account re-traumatizing and invasive. Those photos have since been taken down. We decided to prioritize the trust and safety of students who were photographed. We feel that covering traumatic events requires a different response than many other stories. While our goal is to document history and spread information, nothing is more important than ensuring our fellow students feel safe. And in situations like this, that they are benefiting from our coverage rather than being actively harmed by it. All right, so I guess when a Republican speaks, that is a traumatic event. That's how they define a speech. First Amendment speech, they describe that as a traumatic event. It's insane, but here's this gem. This one really got me. It says, ultimately, the Daily failed to consider our impact in reporting surrounding Jeff Sessions. We know we hurt students that night, especially those who identify with marginalized groups. According to the Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics, ethical journalism treats sources, subjects, colleagues, and members of the public as human beings deserving of respect. Oh, right, like when you covered Justice Kavanaugh or the coverage that President Trump gets, or almost any conservative that's shouted out of campus and can't even speak, and you guys write about it in a left-wing light. That kind of journalistic ethics, is that what you're talking about? But protecting snowflakes, people who cry and complain, now you won't even report the news. I get it. That makes a lot of sense. So, obviously, this story received a ton of blowback because the paper is basically apologizing for doing their job, okay? And there were tweet after tweet after tweet, and most of them were along this lines. This is Glenn Kessler from the Washington Post who tweeted this. How is it possible that a newspaper at what is allegedly a top journalism school would apologize for the basics of reporting? This is a travesty and an embarrassment. And even the dean of the school at Northwestern University, the dean of the School of Journalism, blasted the paper for issuing this apology. And here's what he said, according to the Washington Times. He said, Charles Whitaker, dean of the Medill School of Journalism, Media, Integrated Marketing, Communications, issued a lengthy statement Tuesday calling the paper's apology misguided. As the dean of Medill, where many of these young journalists are trained, I'm deeply troubled by the vicious bullying and badgering that students responsible for that coverage have endured for the sin of doing journalism, Mr. Whitaker wrote. But I patently reject the notion that our students have no right to report on communities other than those from which they hail, and I will never affirm that students who do not come from marginalized communities cannot understand or accurately convey the struggles of those populations, he continued. So that's life at Northwestern. That's life at America's college and universities when the own dean has to say something about what's going on when you can't even cover journalism. You can't even report on the news. So finally, I want to wrap up with some little news tidbits because it just shows how crazy the world is going, how insane. First of all, in San Francisco, they have a new district attorney. He's the son of a far-left, weather-ground activists, left-wingers. All right, he's now district attorney, and he just gave an order that they're not going to prosecute public urination anymore. So if you got to go, just let it all out in San Francisco and have at it. You'll be safe. Everything's good. Next, at Berkeley, there's an instructor, a PhD student that tweeted the other day that rural Americans are bad people and they deserve uncomfortable lives. So once again, you've got colleges and universities have gotten so left. They put out this and they have no idea what it's like for regular Americans living across the country. And once again, it just shows that something needs to change in these colleges. Something needs to change. We need to speak out and shut this kind of stuff down, or at least if he wants to spout out that kind of stuff, where's the balance? Where's the conservative voices on college campuses? Where's the conservative voices and professors and leadership at American colleges and universities? And so finally, since it was Veterans Day on Monday, I've got this story from the University of Virginia, and they would do a 21-gun salute in honor of Veterans Day, and they are now stopping that tradition. They are stopping that tradition because doing the 21-gun salute may cause panic among the students. So, folks, that's our news for today. That's our show. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified, and we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, just a little reminder before you go, and no, this does not count against my 13 minutes. Please hit the subscribe button below and tell your friends. And if you happen to miss our last show, you can check it out right here. And also for great conservative news and commentary, please check out GOPUSA.com. All right, folks, we'll see you on the next show. Have a great day.